Alright, so in this video we're going to be talking about how we take HTML form data and use PHP to insert it into a database. It's going to be pretty cool. I recorded this a while back, so I'm just kind of redoing my intro. But I don't really think there's anything else to be said for it. So let's just go ahead and hop into the video. I hope you get something out of this. So I'll catch you on the flip. Alright, so there's a couple things that we need to do before we can actually get the code in this. First we have to have a database. Before we can take our HTML form data and put it into our database, we have to have the database built. So if you're going to see on the screen right here, we have XAMPP. XAMPP is a cross-platform solution that gives you the ability to go ahead and build databases, host them right here on your computer, and kind of mess around with it. So this one comes with the Apache. It comes with the Maria database, or Maria, I don't know how to say that, PHP, which we're going to be using a little bit of, and Perl. I got the Windows version running on my computer right now. And so once you install that, you're going to have all that kind of stuff go in. You're going to have to set up PHP. If you're using a text editor, you'll probably have to set it up with your text editor. I'm using it with VS Code. I may make a video at some point on how to set all that up, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you've already set that up and that you've already got all that stuff together. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So first thing you need to do is launch XAMPP. So that would be through here. You're going to launch your XAMPP control panel. You're going to see I already have the stuff running. We're going to have the Apache module and the MySQL module. You're going to want to start those by just clicking start here, and then you're going to go to the admin panel over here on the MySQL. And that's going to bring us to this page, the PHP MyAdmin. So this is where we're going to set up our databases. So I've already been kind of working on this project that I'm about to kind of show y'all what I did. So I set up a pizza shop basically. So right now I'm trying to take in orders for pizzas. So I created a database down here called Pizzeria DB. And like I said, at some point I'll come back and make a video on how to do all this kind of stuff. But for the purposes of this video, it's assumed that you already kind of know this. So I set up all these tables in it. We're going to be dealing mainly with the customer login and the customer and the pizza table today. So if you click on these tables, you're going to see I have these different fields: first name, last name, address, zip code, and a special ID. And I also have the pizza table, which is just going to be the ID and the topping type. So this is the page that I built out in HTML. Forgive the garish yellow background. I just threw it on there for the purposes of this video. I'm just kind of messing around playing with it. But anyway, you see we have these fields here. We have a first name field, last name field, address field, zip field, quantity, all this kind of stuff. We want all this data to go into the database. So if I open up VS Code, you can see that I've built out this page in the place order page in my HTML. This is actually running in the XAMPP server that I've set up, or we're running in conjunction with that. Because if you see here, up here at the top, we are running localhost, and this is just the file structure, basically my pizza website, my HTML folder, and then the HTML page. And you see a similar file layout here: pizza website, HTML folder, place order page. Right. So let's get here. Let's see what we got here. So we are pulling in our script. We got our style sheet, our place order style sheet. That's got all that yellow stuff. And the font sizes, yep, okay, all that stuff's good to go. And so we have this form. We built out a form. First thing you gotta do, you gotta make a form. You want your method to be to post, because you want to post to your database, and you want the action to link to the PHP page. Now the PHP is gonna be what directly goes from your HTML to that database, to that MySQL database that I showed you a second ago. So you're going to need to link to that page. Now as you see over here, I've got another folder set up with PHP, and in that I have the place order page PHP actually already set up here. This is where a lot of the magic is going to happen. But before we can explain what's going on in here, we have to look at the place order page. So we see I've set up all these different fields, input fields, and they're of the type text, and then I give them specialized names, which are going to be important in a minute. I gave them a class. This is just the CSS, and then placeholder text. What did I just do? So you want to set up the names. The names are what's gonna connect with the PHP page. So I have a first name, last name, address, zip, quantity, date. Just make it really simple. And we'll have values, but those are for drop downs. Okay, place order page. Go here. So first thing we need to do is we need to take the data from the HTML form, from those input tags, and we need to put that into post variables in the PHP. So the way you declare the variable in PHP is you put this little $sign in front of it and you give it a name. I gave it the same name just for consistency. And then you're going to type fname is equal to post. This is the command, open bracket, and then you're going to put whatever this name was right here. You're going to put that into the place order page variable spot right here. So actually, let me see if I can do a split. Yes, I can. Awesome. So you see it right here. Fname is going to be in the input, and it's also going to be here. So now we're giving this variable called fname the data that we get from the form in this input tag. And we do the same for all these different variables. So now we have all these variables, and they're storing the data that we pulled in of the input tags on our HTML page right here. So now we have to go ahead and send that to the database. How do we do that? We're going to have to, yes, we're going to see if it's set. So we're going to see these two things, these two is sets are for the drop downs right here. Let's take this and spread it out a little bit. These are for our drop downs, the order type and the topping type. This basically just checks and makes sure that the user has selected something from one of those drop downs. I showed you all the drop downs right here. One of these drop downs, something has to have been selected at some point before they hit the submit button. So this just checks for that and gives me an order type and a topping type. It gives me one of those values. So now I'm going to say if the first name is not empty, if the last name is not empty, if address, if zip, if quantity, if date. So if the user has entered something into every single form box, then we're going to start the big bulk of our code, which is right here. Yes, which is right here. And I've got a ton of comments just because I want to remember what I did here. And if they haven't, so let's say they didn't put in first name. So we'd follow this first name all the way down here. It's going to echo out. I got it doing a script, a JavaScript thing, just basically saying that the first name can't be empty. And then it immediately directs me back to the page, the same page, the place order page, HTML, to try it again. But that's besides the point. Back up to the top here. So if all these fields are full, we're going to start the connection with the database. So that comes in here in this connect PHP file. If you have a PHP folder, this needs to be its own little separate thing, and you can just include it in every other PHP file. So basically all that is, this is a little tiny script here. It establishes your host, which if you're using XAMPP is going to be localhost. The default username is root. The default password is nothing. And, I mean, these can be anything. I just called them host, database username, database password. And then the name of the database. Now this does have to be the name of your database. So make sure when you set that up that you give it the name of the database that you have built. That's not the right page. Right here, this name. So once you do that, you're going to do this little script right here, and this con stands for connection. That can be anything. It's a new MySQL. You pass it the host, the username, the password, and the database name. It's safer to do it this way. You can technically take this text and just type it straight up in here. But there's something I was reading that said it was safer to go ahead and assign it variables and then put the variables in here. If the connection fails, then we're just going to throw an error. Okay, so once we've established the connection to the database, that's this line right here, we are going to start putting our data into the database. Now this stuff right here, what is this? Yeah, this has to do with IDs. That's not, I'm not worried about that at the moment. We're actually just talking about getting the data into the database. So we're going to set up some queries. So these are SQL code lines, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to use the PHP to insert into our database and edit the database. So the PHP is basically just like a container that you put your SQL script in, or your SQL code, and then it throws it at the database, sticks it in the database, and then boom, there goes the SQL code, and it's out, and it manipulates the database to do what you want. But the PHP is how you put that code into the database without having to specifically type SQL directly into the database. So we're going to make some queries here. First, we got query 1, query 2, and query 3. And these are the codes for it. So we want to insert into the customer table, right? So going back here, you see we have in the pizzeria database, we have the customer table right here. Into the customer table, we want to insert first name, last name, address, and zip. All right, so these are the, I guess the fields inside of the customer table. All right, so if we go back here, you can see we have the fields first name, last name, address, zip, and they need to be exactly, same case, same everything. It needs to be the exact same letters. So we have these fields. So we're going to tell the database we want to insert into the customer table, into these fields, these values right here that we've already made. So the values that we pulled from our form, our HTML form, and I know I've got it kind of whacked up. Yeah, values that we pulled from our form, we're going to insert those into the customer table, into these fields, and they match up. So first name goes with F name, last name goes with last name, address goes with address, zip, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do by doing that, we're going to take a query and we're going to go ahead and build it. So we're going to take this SQL code, we're going to put it into this PHP query variable, and then we're going to just hold on for a minute. Then we're going to do the same thing to the pizza. So we have another query. So we're going to insert into the pizza table, the topping type section of the pizza table, the field, or the column you'd say, the value of topping type. And into the pizza order, we're going to insert the order type, customer ID, pizza ID, order date, quantity. You notice that these were all fields that we've established up here at the top. Now with customer ID and pizza ID, those come from this section right here. But for the purposes of this video, once again, that's not necessary. But don't get confused about that. And we're going to insert into that table these values right here. That has to do with foreign keys and stuff. So, and you can see right here, pizza order, once again, it's the same thing, order ID, customer ID, pizza ID, order date. So basically, the general format is, you take the query, you say the table name right here, you say the column name right here, and then you put values, and then you put whatever you named it when you pulled it from your HTML form, you put that here. So now we've got all these things, we've got all these queries and they're sitting on Go, but they haven't been executed yet. So we've got to execute them. And we do that by using the MySQL query. And we use the connection to our database that we've established in that connect PHP file. And then we use the query. So basically I'm saying if all these are successful, so if it injects all these successfully, then we're going to echo out a script, success. If it doesn't, then we're going to just say failure. And then we're going to close the connection, and then this once again refreshes the page. It waits 0.1 of a second, and then it throws me back to the transitional page to try again. So let's see how this works. If we go here, I have this pizzeria page. So first name, I'm going to say that it is John. That's not how you spell John, is it? So John, last name is going to be Appleseed. I think it's actually Johnny Appleseed, but who cares? The address is going to be 1432 Nowhere. That's not how you spell Nowhere. Nowhere Lane. The zip code will be 23465. In the quantity, he's going to have 6 pizzas. They're going to be ordered on the 8th. I mean, not the 8th. August 26th. Let's say 2005. I don't know. Just throwing in numbers. Delivery type, he's going to want takeout, and it's going to be meat pizzas. So he wants 6 meat pizzas. Then we submit the order. Boom. It says success. Sweet. Then it redirects me back to the transitional page where I can choose to place another order. I can check order status, generate report, all those kinds of things. In another video I may do, I'm going to show you how to take the database stuff and throw it back onto your to basically put it back in your HTML and do stuff like this. But that's not this lesson. So we take this, and then we go here. We can see that in the customer form, we have a John Appleseed of 1432 Nowhere Lane at this zip that has been inserted directly into our table. We go to the pizza order. We can see that it was a takeout of, it was 6 pizzas. We go here, and we can see that it was type meat. So boom, we have successfully inserted what we had in the HTML form into our database using PHP.